For me, 2025 was a year where streaming TV started maturing. I mean, let's talk about the supply surge that we saw this year. So much inventory entered the market from the likes of Netflix and Disney and Amazon, where new ad-supported tiers were added. And so that influx, that surge, ended up putting a lot of pricing pressure. And that then also led to a lot of innovation in how we are segmenting premium. What is truly premium streaming inventory? So I do think that it was a very interesting year seeing this influx and seeing streaming really take a bigger hold on the way people are consuming television.
And what are you seeing for 2026?
So for 2026, I do believe programmatic will continue growing. I keep on saying this in any conversation I have. It's crazy to think that even with the growth of programmatic, I think we saw that it really only represents about 30% or so of advertising spend, which is crazy to me. And so I do think that a lot of new live events, so we have the Winter Olympics, we have the Super Bowl, of course, we have FIFA World Cup coming up. All of these live events are starting to make more inventory accessible through programmatic means. So I think there is more untapped opportunity on the horizon for us. In regards to programmatic. I also believe that AI will continue making more of a dent. It is here. It is a matter of how is it going to continue evolving and morphing into our workflows and processes. I also believe that television will become more than just an avenue for awareness. I believe with the influx of AI helping with shoppable ads and creative diversification, we are going to see more of a demand to link television consumption patterns to actual consumption actions with, actually putting a metric towards performance. So I do anticipate that evolving in the years to come.
Well, with that evolution of how television advertising is changing, I wanted to take a wider look at contextual targeting in terms of how do brands and agencies view that evolution, not just in the past year, but really let's look back 5 years. Let's look back to 2020 versus today. What's changed?
Agencies and brands were obsessed with behavioral targeting and identity, and as far as they were able to relate it to any ROI. And I think that with this influx of all this content and inventory that is available through streaming and the addressability that is now linked to streaming, we are seeing contextual make a comeback, rightfully so. Being able to link your advertisers' audience and their desires to a contextually relevant television show or any content that is being consumed is definitely coming back. And it really is allowing users to make, to have higher recall and better engagement, which ultimately should, in theory, drive more revenue.
So how is FreeWheel riding that evolution and that comeback of contextual targeting?
We're certainly leaning in. We actually have a lot of our packages, so a lot of our demand packages, when our sales teams are going out to brands and agencies and curating these different deals for them, they are anchored around contextual metadata, contextual signals, and standard attributes that get passed down from our publisher partners and our distribution partners. And so it does allow for more relevance in the way we are pushing these out to market. We also are partnering with folks like Curve and Proximic and work with companies like Whirl that are bringing some really innovative solutions to contextual signals that are being brought into the ecosystem. So again, we don't see it as it replacing identity or behavioral. It really is a complement. It is us taking further steps forward and just adding, it's more additive, I would say.
Is there anything you can tell us about what clients are seeing from contextual targeting? What are some of the results you can point to? What can you say there?
Yes, we have seen clients that are investing in doing, in conducting studies and recall studies, and we are seeing the results are pretty positive. So they have cited that brand recall increases 30 to 40% when an advertisement is contextually relevant to the content being consumed, the emotion that is tied to a scene, and just the tone, for example, of that inventory. So it is very promising, and we are seeing brands and agencies asking for it. They certainly love the idea of it. I truthfully think that it's a matter of us continuing to quantify the impact and the scale that actually is behind it.
You mentioned being able to target to the scene. There's so much that contextual targeting goes towards still the ideas of approaching genre or just the show level. So walk me through a bit more about that deeper impact that you can derive from contextual.
Yeah, so I will say it is becoming more, table stakes to start having that genre show level targeting. Not everyone is quite there. There are other reasons why some publishers don't necessarily have the rights or the ability to share that type of granularity. But when you are able to do that and then link it to a certain theme, that tone, that emotion that is linked to a certain scene, because we've all seen shows where there may be a very happy scene and then something very dramatic could happen. So there is such an influx, and it would be such a wasted opportunity to not tap into the different emotions and relevant scenes that a brand may want to be associated with. Folks have been very used to buying certain shows from linear, and so sometimes they don't even consider a show because they're just thinking about whether they want to include that in their plan or not. And now you're able to actually reach an audience, reach an emotion in a show that maybe was not even on your radar. So I do think that is continuing to evolve, and it is allowing a brand to be a lot more relevant and more engaged with a consumer.
So relevance, obviously always important to brands, so is brand safety. It's always a perennial concern. How do you think contextual solutions, including those you mentioned at the scene level, and the use of AI, as you pointed to, how can those help brands protect their integrity and their brand safety strategies in new ways?
At the end of the day, not every impression is created equal. The emotional relevance of a scene could dramatically change or impact the way an ad is perceived, for better or worse. There are a lot of advertisers and a lot of buyers that decide to block entire categories like news, for example, because they don't have the ability to have that granularity to know exactly what is being consumed. What is this content? Is it polarizing? Is it not? Is it a subject matter expert talking about something and providing an opinion, or is it someone who really is, on a side of the spectrum that they don't want to be associated with? And I think political advertising is a great example of, if you have an aggressive ad that is coming after a really emotional scene, it may not really resonate well. Or if you have an alcohol brand that is going to deliver an ad after a celebratory scene, that recall, that engagement, that connection that a consumer will have is probably a lot better than if it was, a scene that was just at a funeral, for example. So I do think that AI and different solutions that are coming to market are allowing for that more granularity to have that emotional connection to brands, which at the end of the day is what our advertisers want.